All right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Dylan and I finally hammered out a time that worked for both of us to hop back on the podcast here. So, with the NFL, it's already Monday, Labor Day. So, the NFL starts in 3 days. We get Cowboys, Eagles to open the season. We were trying for a while to plan out like an episode where we broke down the NBA playoffs, especially because Dylan's team, the Thunder, won the chip this season. So congrats on that. My team, I about had a brain aneurysm over losing to the friggin' Knicks in the second round, but that's okay. It's been a couple months. It's not as bad after. Um, but in this video, we're gonna go through each of the games for week one, and we're gonna talk about it, give a bit of a preview, give our thoughts to each game, and then we'll ultimately pick which team we think is gonna win each game here. So, jumping in here. Okay, full screen. All right, so jumping in here, we got, as I just mentioned, the Cowboys and Eagles to open the season Thursday night. Obviously, the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champs. I was very surprised it was the Cowboys to. I figured that they would pick a different team other than the Cowboys or the Eagles to open against, but it's the Cowboys. At first, when this game initially got picked, I thought the Eagles were going to win in a blowout. I actually think this might be a close game. I think it will be a close game. It kind of reminds me of like the 21 season when the Bucks had won the Super Bowl and they played the Cowboys at home to open the year, and everyone thought the Bucks were going to win the game, like blow the Cowboys out. And the Bucks won the game, but it took Tom Brady to lead a game-winning drive right at the end and suck up to kick a field goal with a couple seconds left to win it. And Dak was also coming off. That was when he like snapped his ankle, actually against your team in 2020, the COVID year. And injury concerns. Dak played great that year. I think Dak will have another really good year, and it hopefully stays healthy. I think this kind of could be a close game. I think the Eagles will be a juggernaut this year, but I don't think they'll be quite as good as last year. But I still think they'll be, a really solid one of the elite teams in the league. I think this could be a close game, but I am gonna go with the Eagles on this one. So I'm gonna move my name over to the Eagles here. So yeah, feel free to take the floor, Dylan.
Alrighty, so I know these teams very well. Of course, I'm a Giants fan, so I hate seeing any of these teams win. I wish they could have just ended a tie here. But listen, I think the Eagles are going to destroy the Cowboys. I think it's going to be an absolute slaughter. I think there's so much drama going on in Dallas right now. I think with the Parsons trade, I don't think the Cowboys locker room's pretty happy about that one, especially since, I mean, what we've seen the last couple of weeks in Dallas with all the drama. I'm going to take a huge win for the Eagles here. I actually have them winning probably about 35-14. I think it's going to be an absolute slaughter. Um, and another thing is too, like the pass rush for Dallas, there's nobody else. Chauncey Golston just left. He's on the Giants now. There's no more Micah Parsons. So I don't know. The battle of the trenches, the Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. I think it's just gonna be an absolute slaughter. I think we're gonna see the Eagles. I mean, I talked to a lot of Eagles fans, and they love that the fact that they're hanging up the banner in front of Dallas. They love it. Like every single one of them, they're talking about how they get to hang up the banner in front of Dallas Cowboys players and fans and all that. So I expect us to come in pretty hot. I've already seen some Eagles players saying that they're ready to move on from the last year's Super Bowl. Um, I think it's just going to continue to roll for the Eagles, and I have the Eagles winning pretty big here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout. Definitely, that's like an issue. Like I said, I was surprised it was the Cowboys. I'm like, well, the Eagles are just going to win a blowout. Usually game one of the NFL season, the league's going to want it to be a good, close game, goes down to the wire. Which again, I think it might, but I could see it being a blowout as well. Like you just said, the Cowboys pass rush. Uh, they had to trade Parsons to the Packers. They got Kenny Clark, who is like the greatest defensive tackle in NFL history, according to Madden. He just immediately sheds his blocks every friggin' inside zone I run. It's ridiculous. But last year you can argue he declined a bit. They're also paying him quite a bit too. they did get two first rounders. Jerry said that he might use those to make a trade now, but it looks like unless no rumors of who the Cowboys are looking into now, so that'll be out of nowhere. It looks like he's just going to stockpile them for future use now. The Cowboys, I think, are going to be off to a slow start this year. I think we both talked about it when we made like the head coaching hire video, when we talked about all the new head coaching hires. Both of us were not too high on the Brian Schottenheimer hire. So I think the Cowboys offense could be, sort of messy throughout the year. Although I do like the Pickens trade. I think him and Lamb, that's a really nice combo. Lamb finally gets some help. That's been their big issue. Is it's been Lamb and then everyone else. So Lamb just gets like doubled every play. The Eagles defense, I do think they lost some guys. I think they'll take a bit of a step down from last season. I still think they'll be one of the better defenses in the league with Vic Fangio. The Cowboys defense, obviously everyone shits on Matt Eberflus for the Bears. Obviously that did not go well with the Bears, but I actually think he's a pretty solid defensive coordinator. So maybe the Cowboys defense could be, decent just from, Eberflus scheming some things up. But I think the Cowboys are going to be off to a rough start this year. And honestly, not, even though I said it's a close game, I'm talking myself, and I think the Eagles might just blow them out. Yeah, definitely going to go with the Eagles here.
Yeah, I think yeah. I mean, that's a good point that you brought up with the Pickens trade. I think Pickens adds a different dimension to the offense that Schottenheimer can really open up. However, I just think that the gap between the two defenses is pretty astronomical, and that's why I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna have to go with Eagles by slaughter.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like I didn't even think about the fact that you said like they're hanging up the banner in front of the Cowboys. The Cowboys last Super Bowl banner is like rusted, like ancient. It's been so long. They're probably not even gonna know what the hell it is. It's been so long. Um, and yeah, I feel like every Super Bowl team, they obviously open the season at home, except for us in 2019. So they had to do Bears Packers for the 100 season, so we didn't open the season. Of course, with our luck, but we demolished the Steelers on Sunday Night Football anyway, so it's okay. But I feel like any Super Bowl team at home opening the year, they're always going to be extra motivated to get a win, especially in the Eagles' case against the Cowboys. So, yeah, I don't even if it's 100-0, I'm just going to be happy football's back. Um, okay. So next game, this is a Friday game. It's in Brazil. It's one of they have a decent amount of international games this year. Usually, it was just like a game or two in London in the past couple of years, but now they're incorporating more and more this year. So yeah, it's Chiefs at Chargers, which of course, what a surprise! It's technically a road game for the Chiefs. What a coincidence! My favorite team, the Chiefs. I hate them so much. This is gonna be a really close game. I think. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. I think this is like a 24-20 written like all over it. I think it'll be similar to how these teams matched up last year, where it's kind of lower scoring. You get a burst of offense in between. Tight matchup, but I don't know. The Chiefs are usually really well prepared to open the year. They usually start off hot. Uh, I mean, I know they lost to the Lions like 2 years ago, but that was the Kadarius Toney dropped like 18 passes that game. So they had some unlucky things in that game. They really, besides that game, I can't think of the last time they lost an opener under Andy Reid. But on the other end, Jim Harbaugh usually, has his guys ready to play at the start of the year, at any time throughout the year. So you can argue that too. I think the Chargers got better and the Chiefs, you can argue, got a bit worse. And I know we both talked about we think the Chiefs are going to regress a bit this year compared to last year. So there's that. And the Chargers got better. But still, I'm going to slightly lean with the Chiefs here. I think it'll go down to the wire, but I'm going to lean Chiefs here.
So it's pretty funny you said that, regression and the fact that this has 24-20 written all over it. That is exactly my score prediction, but I have the Chargers to win. I think the Chargers win. I think they take a nice little win here. I like you said, I think that they're progressing this year. I think we saw the addition of Trey Harris, the addition of Keenan Allen. They're just trying to get back to the the roots as well because Jim Harbaugh really likes to run the football. I think we saw that a lot at Michigan, and now he adds Amari and Hampton into the mix a little bit. I think we're gonna get back to that little old school run the football, play action, open up some deep balls down the field for Trey Harris. And I think the Chargers are really gonna sneak this one out. I have the Chargers 24, I have the Chiefs 20, and the fact that I think it's in Brazil, actually, I feel like favors the Chargers. I think the Chiefs somehow always find a way with a large fan base to take over the Chargers Stadium anyway, in LA. So I am going to have to say that it being in Brazil, and where the population of the like home crowd is probably diminished a little bit. I'm probably gonna have to go with the Chargers here. 24-20 is my score prediction. Bolt up.
Yeah. Well, I hope you're right. That an ideal start to my football weekend would be, I guess it would be funny if the Eagles lost to the Cowboys. So that would be funny. Ideally, the Chiefs lose. That would be a perfect start to my weekend. And then my team wins, just to even put a bigger smile on my face. That would be an ideal start. I have a hard time seeing that. I know the Chiefs swept the Chargers last season, but I have a hard time seeing them do it again this season. Week one, weird things happen, especially in Brazil. That's another factor. Obviously, that's not typical. So, a decent amount suggests the Chargers could pull off the one. And Rashee Rice, so of course the league initially says, "Oh, you can play the first four games." That happens to be the toughest portion of the Chiefs' schedule. Let's bail him out. And then he took his 6 game suspension, so he won't be here this game. So there are definitely some things that suggest the Chargers could win. I think he could go either way.
Yeah, and on top of saying that, I think we saw a lot of Chiefs close wins last year that were pretty fraudulent. So, if you really wanna like put some salt on the wound there, I don't know. I think this Chargers team's a little bit different. I think they're just sick and tired of uh, all this drama that they had last year, and I think they're ready to rebound this year. I'm gonna say that the Chargers come out swinging, and I think it's gonna be a extended period of time where the Chargers are pulling away. I think it's gonna be like 17-7, maybe 20-7. And then I think the Chiefs are gonna come back and it's gonna be like 2017. And then, the announcer's gonna be like, oh, we expect a game like this. We've seen Mahomes come back, start glazing it up a little bit. But I think that the Chargers are gonna pull it out, and I think it's gonna be the start of a whole new regime. And I think the Chargers are gonna make a statement this year.
Yep. I see the Chargers for me are excited to see like my full season prediction, and I had them at 11-6, which is what they were last year. But I think they'll be better than they were last year. So I originally had 12 wins, but I was like doing edits and stuff, and like to even things out with other teams, I docked them down to 11. I'm like, I think they'll be better than they were last year. Um, I honestly would not be shell shocked if I was going to say the Chargers, but maybe even the Broncos too. I think the Raiders are might be a bit of a stretch. But if the Chargers and Broncos really challenge the Chiefs to the division this year, I would not at all be surprised at that.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd have to agree with that for sure. I think it very well shock me if the Raiders did anything this year, but I am expecting to see the Chargers and Broncos put a little more pressure on the Chiefs and widen or tighten up the gap a little bit between them.
yep. Um, yep. Okay. Next game. This is an interesting one. Dolphins Colts. Now, the Dolphins, I'm not too optimistic on them this year. It seems like bad mojo going into the year. Does Tyreek want to be there? It's like yes one day, then no the next day. It just seems like it's sort of like the Jamar Chase situation going into last year for the Bengals. Obviously, that got resolved out, but this one seems a bit different, especially Tyreek had some, character concerns with the Chiefs even at times. Mike McDaniel, I think, is under a lot of pressure this year. He's definitely his seat's starting to heat up a bit. The Dolphins' defense, a lot of people questioning that. And then on the other end, the Colts are. I actually think the Colts have like a solid roster. Obviously, their big concern is quarterback. Now it's your old guy Daniel Jones, who I think that's the right move. I think he's been better than what we've seen from Richardson. Richardson is more, upside and flashy plays, but I think Daniel Jones, I don't think is a great quarterback, but I don't think he's like as bad as a lot of people in the media turns him out to be. I could see this game going either way, but I think the Dolphins are going to do what they typically do under Mike McDaniel. They're going to get off to a hot start, that high flying, explosive offense, and then kind of the middle of the year and the end of the year, they're going to get on a cold streak, regress, start losing more. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this game. I think probably that, the deep shot or two to Hill or Waddle could be the difference maker. But I definitely think this is a close game, regardless of who wins.
Okay, so that's funny you said that. So I'm gonna go on the same side as you. I think the Dolphins, I think they walk in here and I think they take the W. I don't know. I've seen a couple people pick the Colts. I just don't see it. I don't see it in any world. I think that Dolphins are just the better team overall. That offense is an absolute juggernaut. And I mean, two is healthy. You have Waddle, you have Hill. You just have all these weapons. I don't know how about Achin. I don't know if he's playing, or if how he's feeling. But I don't know. The the weapons are just too much for the Colts, and I think the Colts here. Listen, Daniel Jones is a pretty much one read quarterback. The last 6 years, Brian Daboll's tried to like diminish a little bit of the scheme a little bit to try and help him out. I think we're going to see a lot of flaws here with um, the offense coordinator. I think it's Steichen. I believe it's just Steichen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I just don't really. I'm not a believer in him anymore. I was the biggest Daniel Jones defender just because of the offensive line and all that. But he is a typical one read quarterback. So I think we're gonna get a lot of like one target looks, which is probably gonna be more towards like Tyler Warren or Michael Pittman. So you're gonna see a lot of like, one reads, making it easier for him to check down the ball. Maybe incorporate a little bit of the run game, maybe some play action, use his legs a little bit. But I just don't see a world where the Dolphins really can lose this game if they just play to their full potentials. What we've seen the last couple of years that they are capable of doing. So I'd have to say that the Dolphins take this one. I think like you said, the long ball to Tyreek or the long ball to Jalen Waddle. I think it's right there, and I'm gonna have to say that the Dolphins beat the Colts 27-16 here.
Yeah. I will say Shane Steichen kind of seems to be like one, like sort of like Kevin O'Connell. Like I don't know, I want to say like a quarterback whisperer, but like for example, like Minshew a couple years ago when Richardson went down his rookie year, and like Minshew he started most of the year. They went 9-8 that year, and Minshew looked like serviceable. So I think Daniel Jones, you can argue, is probably around the same talent and production as Minshew and efficiency. So I think the Colts will kind of be like they have been the past 2 years. They'll be, floating around 500 most of the year. They'll beat some good teams. They'll lose to some bad teams. Probably fight for a playoff spot up to the last couple weeks. They're just, I don't know. They're like stuck in like mid territory. I feel like they're a tough team to gauge.
For sure. Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Yeah, the Colts, I mean, I don't know. It's weird with them. Like every year, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe there's something here, maybe there's something here. And I don't know. I just don't see it. Um, I'm not a big Colts guy. I've never been a big Colts guy. I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one as well.
Yeah, I could see the Dolphins like just completely blowing them out. I definitely think that's a plausible scenario too.
Yeah,
Um, okay. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Steelers Jets. To me, this has low scoring defensive game written all over it. Um, Now the big, obviously Aaron Rodgers, I guess his return game to the this probably would have been a primetime game if Aaron Rodgers didn't wait so friggin' long to sign with the Steelers. Uh, I'm I'm picking the Steelers. I think they're simply the better team. Except I would not be too surprised if the Jets pull this one out because week one, like I said with the first game we went over, weird things can happen. The Jets, we don't know. Everyone expects them to be a bad team pretty much, but bad teams can pull off an upset anytime, especially week one. New scheme, everything's new with the Jets. Maybe Fields causes some mobility issues to the Steelers' defense. I guess it's a Justin Fields sort of his revenge game too. He's with the Steelers last year, and they benched him for Russell Wilson. Aaron Glenn, maybe he has a really good defense game. I am concerned with the Jets offense this year. Well, I shouldn't say concerned. I'm a Patriots fan, but if I was a Jets fan, I would be concerned with the offense. Apparently, Justin Fields is really struggling in training camp. And besides Garrett Wilson, who the hell is he going to throw the ball to on that team? And then, defensively, a lot of Lions fans are down on Aaron Glenn. Obviously, their defense was atrocious the last couple of games and in the playoffs against Washington, but they did have all those injuries. I think Aaron Glenn's actually a good defensive coach. I think the Jets defense will probably be bad this year, but I could see some games where Aaron Glenn has the defense balling. But speaking of defense, the Steelers defense, I think like every year will be one of the top ones in the league. I just simply trust the Steelers more. I think they're the better team. I think they get the better defense, better offense, coaching's better. I'm just gonna pick the Steelers here, but this to me will definitely be a low scoring defensive type of game.
Yeah, it absolutely has defense written all over it. I think you look at some of the best defenses. You could put the Jets up there. They have some pretty key defensive players, but the Steelers have probably a better defense and probably a better offense as well. So I think the all-around better team. I think you have to go with the Steelers. I'm also on the Steelers side, and I have just the typical Steelers victory. My guess is probably gonna be like a 20-13 game or like a 23-13 game. I actually wrote down 23-13 Steelers. And I think there's a little bit of life in Pittsburgh. I think everybody's kind of seeing how well is Aaron Rodgers going to come back from the injury, and how well is he going to do this year with the new team, and what better way to kind of get a little bit of revenge on the Jets for a little bit for honestly, yeah, kind of both situations. Fields, how strong is that connection with Garrett Wilson from college? Because they played at college together. How strong is that gonna, incorporate into the offense? Is their chemistry still, available? Are they gonna, light up this defense? What's the timing gonna be like? So I don't know. I think the Steelers squeak out a pretty sizable victory here. My guess is about, by touchdown or by 10. But yeah, we'll have to see how this goes, but defense has it written all over. So
Yeah, this I could see the Steelers being like a really like one of the better teams in the AFC this year, at least record wise. Like I know last year at one point they were like 10-3, and like technically record wise they were right up there, but everyone was kind of saying not that they were like fraudulent, but like no one was picking them to beat like the Chiefs or the Bills in the playoffs or the Ravens. And then we saw, the back half of the year, they kind of collapsed a bit and then just got absolutely smacked in the wild card game against the Ravens. The defense we know is probably, as every year, going to be one of the better ones. So the offense is going to have to figure it out. I think Rodgers will have, he actually didn't play as bad last year as you would have thought because the Jets were just a complete mess last year. I think Rodgers will have a good year. Having Metcalf obviously will help with the deep shots. Rodgers obviously play action heavy quarterback. Arthur Smith, I think, will be a good fit with Rodgers. He's a run heavy play caller, so that'll help Rodgers out since he's getting up there. I think he's like 41 now, I think. So I think the Steelers will be one of the better teams. I have them at 10-7. I feel fairly comfortable around there. We know at least they'll get 9 wins because Mike Tomlin will never have a losing season. He turns into like John Madden and Belichick combined when that record's on the line. So we know at least they'll get like 9 wins.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think you're floating around the same area. You're probably looking at 9-10 wins, depending on how we evaluate the Ravens this year, how we evaluate the Bengals this year. Are the Bengals going to take another step up? Are they going to continue to what they were last year with the bad defense and bad coaching decisions? Like, there's so many questions in that AFC North division, and there is every year. So we just have to wait and see with that one.
Yeah. Um, Next game. This is an interesting one. This game can very well go either way, I think. Panthers and Jags. So the Panthers getting some hype. They obviously were a complete disaster to start the year, and Bryce Young was a disaster. and then Bryce Young got benched, and then when he came back, the Panthers got they were playing a lot better football. They kind of were getting hot at the end there. They ended the year really well, and then the Jags, obviously, off last year were just a complete mess. But some optimism. You get Liam Cohen. Can he finally turn Trevor Lawrence's career around? Some optimism around the Jags, Jacksonville there. This game very well could go either way. Honestly, I think the Panthers are probably right now a better team than the Jags, but I'm gonna go with the Jags here. I think this will be a close game either way, but I'm gonna go with the Jags here. If it was in Carolina, I would probably pick the Panthers, but the Jags at home, uh, I guess you don't know what you're gonna get from them. Liam Cohen, new scheme, so a bit of a question mark as to what they're going to prepare for versus the Panthers. Scheme wise, they're going to stay relatively the same. So I could see a weird scenario where the Jags just win comfortably, and it's gonna be like, what the hell? The Panthers, not like this again compared to the start of last year, and then things will revert how we expect. But could go either way. I'm gonna go with the Jags here.
Yeah, I am actually gonna say this. Um, if you are betting on this game, I would recommend calling 1-800-GAMBLER because this game is a game after week one where you want to watch and just see how the teams do. Like the Jags will pretty much know right away on how they want to use Hunter, how they want to, incorporate Liam Cohen and how his offense translates into Trevor Lawrence's game a little bit more. I would recommend sitting back, relaxing, and watching this game and just seeing, what happens. But I would not bet on this game prior to not knowing anything about these two teams. I am going to take the safer route. I'm going to take the Panthers. The reason why I say it's safer, it's just because I don't really know. There's a lot of question marks about Jacksonville this year. Abysmal last year. Even when Trevor Lawrence was playing, he still didn't look good at all. Does BTJ help him out in the short game? Does Travis Hunter incorporate a little bit more of like that short game? Like how do they plan on using Hunter in this new scheme? I think that the Panthers, you're right. They did start to get a little bit hotter towards the end of the year last year. I think Bryce Young is a severely underrated quarterback coming into this year. I think he's somebody that's going to shock a lot of people. I think when they incorporate Chuba Hubbard coming back and doing his thing. I think they're going to have a great run game this year. I'm pretty excited about the Panthers. I think they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be in the hunt for the playoffs in the end of the year. Do not be surprised on the Panthers this year.
Yeah, one surprising move from them, they just traded Thielen back to the Vikings, which honestly surprised me. I know the Vikings probably now are in a better position to win big than the Panthers are, and Thielen's, getting up there in age. How much longer does he have, at least at a high level? But he made some clutch catches for the Panthers last year. He was like one of Bryce Young's go-to guys, maybe his go-to guy, and veteran leadership in there. So I'm honestly a bit surprised they traded him, but I don't think their offense is gonna like fall off a cliff or anything because and they got Ted McMillan too. So I think Panthers could be a sleeper team this year. They get a tough schedule though, if I remember right, but they definitely, even if I actually like them winning 6 games, which I'm very uneasy on because I think they're a lot better than they were last year. But if things go well, they could be a bit of a dark horse this year. You can argue the same thing with the Jags too, but more so the Panthers, I think. But like you said, yeah, this game has do not bet written all over it. We don't know what we're gonna get from either of these teams, most likely, especially the Jaguars.
Yeah, 100%. I think you have to also look at the NFC South this year. I still think it's very much up for grabs. I think there's still a lot of question marks with the Falcons that we don't know. And the Saints are, I mean, spoiler alert, I have them being one of the worst teams in the league. I think that they finished one or two overall this year. But I will say that the NFC South is up for grabs. And I do see that the Panthers probably could sweep the Saints. And they have a couple more options available out there on their schedule that I think that are going to be some sleepers. This is one of those games. I have the Panthers winning this game 23-20. I think it comes down to a last second field goal. That's just how I see it because, like I said, you don't want to bet on this game. I think it's too close to call. but I like the last second field goal here, and I'm gonna take the Panthers to win it week one.
Yeah, uh, I have that like envision in my mind now, the game winning field goal for the Panthers. I definitely think that is a very realistic scenario that could happen here.
Yep.
Um, well, speaking of the Saints, okay, so Cardinals and Saints. So as you just mentioned, I agree with you. I think the Saints will be a mess this year. I have them at 4-13, and I honestly I almost said 3-14, but I gave them an extra win over someone I forget who. Um, the thing with the Saints is their roster, like on paper, actually doesn't look like absolutely abysmal. The big question with them is quarterback, obviously. Now they're going with Rattler. Now, obviously, the Saints, after the first 2 weeks last year, where it looked like they were the greatest show on turf and it looked like they were going to the Super Bowl, they kind of fell off a cliff. They got absolutely derailed with injuries. Rattler did not look very good, but again, you can argue what was he working with. Kellen Moore, I think, will definitely help with that. I think he'll look a lot better under Kellen Moore. But Brandon Staley's the Saints defensive coordinator. He did good with the Rams. The Rams is the number one defense the one year. He was calling the defense there, but then obviously it did not work out with the Chargers. Especially him calling the defensive plays most of the time there. Maybe the Saints defense, again, their defense looks decent on paper, but Staley, big question mark. The offense, a big question mark. And then the Cardinals on the other end, they had a big improvement last year compared to Gannon's first year. And, not, I don't think a lot of people are talking about the Cardinals, but I think they'll kind of have a similar year to last year where their defense will play well and then the offense will be, up and down most of the year, kind of some consistency issues. Um, I know this makes no sense, but I am picking Saints to win this game in an upset. Logically, the Cardinals really should win this game in like a complete blowout, but something in my gut, just the week one, weird things happen. Something just randomly is telling me the Saints are going to win this game, and the Cardinals are probably going to win this game in a blowout. And I'm going to look like an idiot for picking the Saints, but why not? I'm just going to roll with it. Maybe Kellen Moore and company have been. I could just see it being like Kellen Moore and company. The offense lights it up into like the Saints. Like everyone thought they were going to be awful. They're going to be decent this year, and then they'll collapse. I don't know. That's kind of what my gut says. I'm going to roll with it.
Yeah, I was gonna absolutely flame you for this pick. The fact that you just said, but you kind of bought yourself a little bit of credibility when you were explaining why. I do think that Kellen Moore coming into this offense can open up a different dimension for Kamara. Maybe Kamara can start out hot. That's the thing about like the NFL. It's not always about the talent, right? The coaching and like all those kinds of things. It's who you trust more in the coaching aspect. And I think we've seen that we could trust Kellen Moore the last couple of years with the Eagles offense, what he's been able to do, what he's done with the Chargers and with Dallas offense. I mean, there is so many things that he was well deserving of this coaching job. And you know, listen, I would love to say, I'm with you on that one, but I'm absolutely not going to do that. I have the Cardinals winning in a blowout here, 28-10. I think that the Cardinals, I think they're looking for something to prove this year. And you know what? Week one, we do see that, week one can be the biggest liar of all time. I think last year, I think we saw your fraudulent Team Patriots beat the Bengals. But I will say that the NFL is nuts, and you know what? I will take the coaching that the Saints have over the Cardinals. But I think the talent gap is just way too wide. I'm gonna go with the healthy Arizona Cardinals with the healthy James Conner, a healthy Trey McBride, a second year in the system for Marvin Harrison. I'm gonna take that continuity and that talent and how well they know each other, and I'm going to stick it in the win column for them. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals 28, like I said, and then I'm going to go with the Saints 10. The quarterback problem, I think, is just really, I mean, they drafted a quarterback in the second round and Tyler Show, and I think that we're going to have a quarterback controversy by week 2 or 3. I mean, I think it's going to be that bad. Now. Could they sneak out a win here? Could the Saints sneak out the win? Maybe. I don't see it at all, though. Give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, all logic suggests the Cardinals, and I'm just going my gut here, just a random gut feeling. But the Saints, I think, will just be a disaster because of the quarterback situation. Um, but yeah, just a random gut feeling because we saw the Cardinals, not necessarily the bad teams. They had like a really bad loss to the Packers, so they couldn't do anything for most of the game. Obviously, the Packers are a lot better than the Saints are, but I don't know, just a gut feeling on this one. But before
Respect
I
it.
get
I respect it.
Yeah. Before I get cut off here, we're gonna have to do two separate parts because this is about to cut us off in a minute here. So let me stop this recording